welcome to my channel Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me today. And if you're new to my channel, I love to talk on my channel about all things sewing related, with a little bit of knitting added in sometimes too. So I love talking about different sewing patterns I've been trying and different fabrics I've been testing out too and how I've got on with them. And I just basically love sharing my journey to making a handmade wardrobe and all the sewing I do along the way. So if you'd like to join me and hear a little bit more about how I'm getting on sewing my handmade wardrobe, I'd love you to subscribe to my channel and also press the bell notification so you hear about my future vlogs. But today's vlog is all about what I've been making in May. And I've been actually looking forward to doing this vlog because you may have seen the last month I've been making a series of vlogs talking about my handmade wardrobe over the month of May for Me Made May on Instagram, where I pledged to wear a handmade item every day in May. And I got out some quite older garments I've made, and I really had to scratch my head a little bit thinking about what I could say about them and remembering what size I've made and how I'd got on with them. So I had to do a bit of research for some of those garments. But I think for these garments I've made in May, they're quite fresh in my head. So hopefully all the information will come out and I'll be able to, share with you exactly how I've gotten with those patterns and not have to, dig too deep. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to sharing with you what I've been sewing in May. I think I've got a few garments to share with you, and then at the end, a couple of knitting projects too. But let me start first of all with what I'm wearing today. And today it's a little bit milder. We've had a horrible wintry cold May, but today is a little bit milder, so I thought I'd get out something short-sleeved. And it's quite a casual dress because I'm at home today. And it's a Tabitha T-shirt dress. And it's from this book here, which is Make It Simple by Tilly and the Buttons. And it's Tilly and the Buttons' third book. And it says on the front, it's designed for easy, speedy sewing projects to stitch up in an afternoon. And there are some really lovely patterns in this book. And I've made 2 of them so far, although I've got my eye on a couple of other ones. I've made the Bertha cardigan, and then also this one with the Tabitha T-shirt dress. And so this comes as a basic T-shirt pattern and also a dress extension. And I'll show you the line drawings for the dress version. Here it is. So it's kind of like quite a classic T-shirt shape with a sort of crew neck, just sort of basic short sleeves, a kind of boxy T-shirt shape. But you can extend it to a dress version by basically adding a skirt piece, which they give you details of how to make. And then in the middle it's got like a channel with a drawstrings that's kind of pulled in at the waist. So I'll show you if I stand up. It's pulled in at the waist here with a drawstring, and I've added on these little, what do you call them, eyelets, that you can also use make buttonholes on your sewing machine. But I do quite like using the eyelets with the prim snaps, and I find they go on really well. I've got a little black cord to bring out the black spots, and it's a jersey pattern, jersey T-shirt pattern. And I got this fabric, I think I got it from the Maker's Merchant a long time ago, but I think it's quite cute with the white with the black spots. It makes me think of 101 Dalmatians a little bit. And I made, I think, the size 2, possibly grading to size 3 at the hips. And I'll put up a picture of me wearing this pattern. It's an easy, speedy sew, like Tilly promises in her book. It's really comfy to wear. It's a perfect one for hanging around the house, I find it great for wearing out to the park with my kids because it's really stretchy and comfy. And today I've just worn it with a pair of leggings to keep me a little bit warmer because I think it looks fine over leggings too. But that's what I'm wearing today, the Tabitha T-shirt dress from Make It Simple by Tilly and the Buttons. Let me get on to though what I've been making in May. So the first garment I'm going to share with you that I made in May, you might have seen already because I wore it in May as soon as I made it, and I shared it on one of my Me Made May handmade wardrobe vlogs. But I'm going to share it with you now in case you haven't seen that. And it's this here. It is the Jarrah sweatshirt by Megan Nielsen. And I made it in this lovely pink fabric with a grid print on, and it's a sweatshirt fabric with a fleecy back, so it's quite a nice snuggly cozy fabric. And I got this from Beyond the Pink Door, which is a website run by Andrea and her daughter, and they're based in Ireland but they ship to the UK too. Yes, it's a really lovely fabric, and I've seen it in a few other colours going by. I think like a rust colour, a pale blue, maybe a grey, but I really like this sort of dusky pink colour, and it's not one I have in my wardrobe a lot, so I snapped that up. And so this is the Jarrah pattern, and I'll show you the pattern here. And it's one of my favourites. It's a sweatshirt pattern by Megan Nielsen with loads of different variations. I'll show you the line drawings here. There's loads of different options. There's a couple of different necklines. There's a tie finish, a kind of classic sort of bottom band finish, a split dipped hem finish, even a couple of different ways of finishing the sleeves too, the kind of classic cuff and then a split here. So yeah, loads of different variations, and I've actually tried most of them out now because I've made quite a few different versions of the Jarrah because I just find it such a wearable, comfy, relaxed sweatshirt. So yeah, this version I made just the classic standard sweatshirt version, so it's got cuffs and a bottom band. And actually when this fabric arrived, I really scratched my head on how to finish the with the cuffs and with the neckband too, because I originally thought maybe like a white colour, but then I thought, I'm a bit messy, I might get that quite dirty, I'm not sure it'll be for me, and maybe it'll be a bit too white. And I had a couple of ribbings in my stash, so I had a look and I thought actually this dark grey colour would work quite well with the dusky pink, and I'm quite pleased with how it turned out actually. I quite like the pink and grey combination. And yeah, this went in quite nicely. I don't often use ribbing actually, I often quite like to match the fabric, so it's quite nice having a bit of a play with the contrasting colour. But the Jarrah is a great sweatshirt pattern, it sews up really quickly. I make the smallest size in this pattern, which is for bust 32, waist 24 and hips 34. And my measurements are 32, 26, 36, but it's designed to be quite oversized, this pattern, and I didn't want it too super oversized. So I found that size works for me, and there's still plenty of room there. It's definitely a relaxed fit. It's got slightly dropped shoulders. I'll put up a picture of me wearing it so you can see how it looks on. And yeah, I think the pattern sews up really quickly. The most time for this one was taken up just in the stripe matching. I'll put a picture up as well so you can see the stripe matching. But yeah, I had a bit of fun making sure I got the stripes just right, so they did come out nicely on the shoulders. And they did all come together well, so I'm pleased I spent the time cutting out, even though it was a bit of a kind of tricky and quite slow process to make sure it came out okay. But yeah, it's just a lovely, lovely sweatshirt. I didn't actually think I'd be getting much wear out of it in May because I was hoping for better weather. But I really have enjoyed wearing it. It's really snuggly, and I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it to come too. So that's my first make for May, the Jarrah sweatshirt by Megan Nielsen Patterns in this lovely pink fleece back jersey. Oh, and I nearly forgot to mention, I did make a couple of small adjustments to the Jarrah sweatshirt, this version. I lengthened both the sleeves and the bodice. I think I lengthened the sleeves by about 1 inch because the sleeves are quite generous and quite long anyway, so I didn't lengthen them too much. But I did lengthen the bodice by about 1.5 inches or 2 inches, I think, just because it is designed to be quite a cropped sweatshirt, I think, and I wanted to make sure it kept my midriff nice and cosy because I wanted it as a proper winter jumper. So yeah, I lengthened the bodice a little bit too. So my next make for May is one I really enjoyed taking my time over, and I found it a really enjoyable process and a really enjoyable make. And I made it using this pattern here, which is the Shelby Dress and Romper by True Bias. So it was my first time using this pattern. It's one that's been around for a while, and it's really a popular one. It's a lovely kind of 90s style dress and romper, and I'll show you the line drawings. So you can make a shorter length or a full length, and then it's a sort of either available as a dress, like I say, or a kind of romper, but it's quite a full-bodied swishy skirt, or so romper. So when I've seen on Instagram people wearing the romper, you can't always tell at first glance that it isn't actually a dress, but yeah, it's quite a cool little feature. And it's got princess seams all the way down, a little tie at the back, and then it's got 2 different sleeve variations, a kind of sort of classic sort of short sleeve, and then a more of a cap sleeve. And it's got a V-neck and then buttons down the front. So yeah, it's quite a 90s style dress, and I know the 90s style is really cut back at the moment, and I thought I really fancied giving this one a go. I thought it would be a bit of fun to make, and yeah, I love sewing practical things, but sometimes it's just lovely to sew a pretty dress too, and I'm hoping I'll still get a lot of wear out of this one. So yeah, and I do like princess seams as well. I like the shaping they give and how that comes out, but I'll show you my version of the True Bias Shelby dress and romper, and I decided to make the dress version, and I made the shorter version because I'm not a big fan of long dresses on me, so I definitely was going to go for the shorter version, and here it is. And I'm really pleased actually. I made it in this lovely viscose twill fabric, which I got from Material Girl Laura. Unfortunately, she's now closed her online shop. But I have seen this, I think, a couple of other places, so it may still be out there. I think possibly Felicity Fabrics was selling this fabric at one point. I don't know whether they've still got it in stock. But yeah, it's lovely. It's quite a lightweight viscose twill. It's not a super heavy one. So I thought it would be okay, because I know sometimes viscose twills with buttons, and I find they can sort of drag a little bit, but because it was not too heavy, I found it's worked fine. And I made, as you can see, I made little self-covered buttons because I really wasn't sure what buttons would suit it, so I thought I'd give self-covered buttons a go. So it's hard to see them actually because they match in quite well. But that was a lot of fun. I used a little kit I bought from Amazon. It wasn't very expensive and it was a little bit fiddly because you kind of get the button, you cut a little piece of fabric and then you have to kind of sew sort of basting stitches round and sort of pull them to kind of gather them around the button and then stick the back on. So it's a bit fiddly, making sure you had the right amount of material to kind of cover the button and pull in, but not too much material so it was too bulky to put the button back on, if you know what I mean. It was quite fun and I'm quite pleased how they came out and I think they suit this dress really well, the self-covered buttons. But yeah, it was a really nice make actually. What I did for this one was I actually made a toile of the bodice just because I wanted to check the fit, particularly the princess seams across my bust. I was quite pleased I did make a toile of this one. I made it in just a scrap of viscose I had in my stash that I didn't have any particular plans for. And yeah, so I made that in a size 0, which is designed for chest 32, waist 26, hips 34. And yeah, my hips are a little bit larger, but there's loads of space in the hips for this garment because it is quite swishy and wide, so I didn't think that'd be a problem. So I went with my chest and waist measurement. But I did find it actually came up a bit roomy around the chest and waist on me. I know it's designed not to be too fitted, but I found it a bit too roomy. So I did make a slight adjustment to moving the side seams a bit once I made the toile. And I also adjusted the princess seams slightly because I found that they were the kind of curve of the bust was sitting slightly higher than my bust, so I kind of adjusted the seams slightly to bring it to the right shape for me. And I also found that the armholes were a little bit tighter than I wanted, and I want to be able to wear this dress layered up for winter as well as for summer. I thought it'd be quite nice to be able to wear it with like a black top underneath in winter so I get more wear out of it. So I didn't want the arms to be too tight, I wanted them to have enough room to be able to fit a top underneath. So I lowered the armholes slightly as well. So I made those changes to make this version and I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'll put up a couple of pictures of me wearing it so you can see. Yeah, and I really love it actually. It's lovely and swishy at the skirt and it was a really nice make too. I find true bias patterns, I find their instructions are really concise and clear and they're really nice to follow and they just seem to make a lot of sense when you're following them through. So the pattern came together really nicely actually. And yeah, I really like it and I've actually got plans to make another version. I think this version will work across the season so I could wear it in summer with a kind of pair of white trainers, but also in winter with black tights and a black top. But I'm planning a more summery version for my next version, so I'll look forward to sharing that with you at some point. I haven't started on that one yet, but I'm looking forward to giving that one a go because I enjoyed this pattern so much. But what else is there to say about this dress? So it's true, oh that's what I wanted to mention, the size range on this one at the moment goes up to size 18, which is chest and bust 44.5 inches, waist 38.5 inches and hips 46.5 inches, so it's not the biggest size range. And some true bias patterns are available in extended size range, but this one isn't yet unfortunately. But you know, fingers crossed they might update it at some point because it is such a nice one. That it would be nice if it's available for all sizes because yeah, it's such a lovely pattern. But that is the Shelby Dress and Romper by True Bias and my version in this lovely viscose twill fabric. So the next pattern that I wanted to share with you, or the next make I wanted to share with you, is actually one I made for my daughter. And it's one that kind of came out as a kind of happy accident really, because it's one where, you know when you buy a fabric online and sometimes it just doesn't arrive exactly as you're expecting it to arrive. So I bought this French terry from Minerva, and yeah, it's just kind of a loop back jersey French terry fabric, and I was planning to make for my daughter a pair of jogging bottoms for her to wear as part of her school PE kit. And her school PE kit has to be in a royal blue colour, and I ordered the cobalt blue on Minerva and it looked kind of royal blue, I thought, but it came a little bit in a lighter shade of blue, kind of more of a powdery shade of blue. So yeah, I was a bit like, ooh, that won't work for school. She would stand out quite a lot. She would not match the school colours at all. So I was a little bit disappointed at first and thought, oh, I should have checked, you know, I guess this is why you order swatches, to make sure the colour's just right when it is a kind of colour critical thing. But I thought actually maybe I can turn it into something she might like to wear out of school. So I made her a little pair of joggers instead for out of school. And yeah, I'm really pleased how they turned out actually. I made them using the another True Bias pattern, the Hudson pants, but the mini Hudson pants version, which is a kids pattern which is available for ages 2 to 10. And it's just kind of like a mini version of the adult Hudson pants. I'll put a picture up. It's got this elasticated waist, it's got a lovely pocket detail which I really like. It's got cuffs on the bottom and quite a slim fit on the leg, which suits my daughter because she's quite on the sort of narrow, slim side. Yes, I actually found some fabric in my stash that I had a little scrap of, and I made a molly dress by Sew Over It for me in this fabric, and had a little bit left over, enough to add for a waistband, and these little pocket details on the pockets, and also for the cuffs. And I thought they came out really nicely actually. I'm really pleased. And you can add a cord around the waist, like a drawstring cord, to these joggers too. But I thought my daughter doesn't really like that sort of thing. Ties and stuff bother her. She likes everything as kind of comfortable and simple as possible. So I left it off for her. But yeah, I'm really pleased how they came out actually. And she doesn't often wear a pair of joggers other than for school PE, but she really likes them. And she's worn them a couple of times already. And I think she finds them really comfy. And it was nice to be able to make them just the right size around her waist, because she has got quite a tiny little waist, so it was nice to be able to bring it in and make it fit her right so they didn't bother her by sort of falling down and having to pull them up a bit. And she's 5, and I made the age 5, and they did come up a little bit long and a little bit wide, so I narrowed the legs slightly and chopped them off, so I might have been better maybe with a size 4 for her. But yeah, I made the size 5, and I've got that size kind of traced out now at least, so I'll hopefully get some more wear out of it to come. But yeah, it was just a nice quick make, and I'm really pleased that I was able to kind of use this fabric even though it wasn't suitable for the original thing I was planning on making it for. But I'll put a picture up of them so you can see them. And also my daughter wasn't very keen on posing for a picture, particularly showing off these joggers, but I did manage to get one of her and her big brother where she is wearing them, and he's wearing a pair of Hudson pants I made him too, so I'll put them up too so you can just see how they look on her. But yeah, she's really pleased with them, so I'm glad to be able to make them, and I think it looks really nice, this little detail. I quite like a pair of these in my size really actually. But that's the mini Hudson pants by True Bias, a pattern I made for my daughter. Oh, and the mini Hudson pants are actually a great scrap buster too, because they don't really take up much fabric at all. I use less than 1 metre of fabric for these joggers. So yeah, great scrap buster, or if you do want a quick project that doesn't require too much fabric, they're a great one for that, the mini Hudson pants. So next I've got 2 T-shirts to share with you that I made for myself. I kind of noticed this year that I was kind of lacking T-shirts in my wardrobe, and hopefully we're getting there now to that time of year, you know, where you don't need a sort of thick cosy jumper on, but equally it's not quite warm enough for summer dresses, and I love just a pair of jeans with a nice T-shirt on, and hadn't really got many T-shirts that were kind of suitable, so I thought, right, I'm going to make a few T-shirts this year. So I've made 2 more this month. I think that's probably enough for now, so I'll share them with you. And I made them both using bamboo jersey, which is kind of my new favourite jersey material at the moment. It's one I've just discovered fairly recently, and I think it's quite sustainable, bamboo as a plant, which is nice to know. But it's also really lovely to sew with and really lovely to wear because it's such a slinky, drapey fabric that yeah, it's really comfy, and I think it's quite designed to be quite breathable. I think it might be hypoallergenic, so it's got a lot of nice kind of cooling properties that are nice and gentle on your skin. But I've made 2 T-shirts using 2 different patterns, and the first one is this pattern here, which is the Stellan tee by French Navy, and as you can see it's a free pattern. You don't even have to subscribe to French Navy's newsletter. All you need to do is go on the website and the files are available to download, which I think is really generous of the lady who runs French Navy. But it's a lovely basic T-shirt pattern. It's kind of quite a boxy fit. It's got slightly dropped shoulders, just slightly off the shoulder, a crew neck, and then you can turn up the cuffs, and it just comes together really well. Yeah, it's just quite straightforward, and it doesn't need too much fabric either. It only needs I think 90 centimetres of fabric if you've got 150 centimetre wide fabric, so another great scrap buster pattern if you've got a small length of fabric. Unfortunately, the size range isn't the best on this pattern. It goes from extra extra small to extra extra large, but the extra extra large is only a UK size 18, which is bust 42 inches, waist 35 inches, hips 44 inches. I made the size 6, a UK size 6, the smallest size, which is bust 32 inches, waist 24, hips 34. But again, a bit like the Jarrah I mentioned earlier, because it's quite a boxy fit, then the hips measurement I don't think is too critical for this one, because it kind of skirts over my hips anyway. There's plenty of room there for that size. But let me show you my version. And here it is. I made it in this navy bamboo jersey, and as you can see it's just lovely and slinky with a lovely drape. And I think that suits the Stellan tee really well, because I've made 3 versions of this t-shirt actually. One in a cotton jersey, one in a viscose crepe jersey, and this one in bamboo jersey. And the drapey viscose crepe and the bamboo, I find they just look better. I find the cotton one has a more bulky seam here, which makes my shoulders look a bit angular. But these ones I find just kind of drop over the shoulders nicely. And yeah, I think I really like how it feels and how it fits. but I put up a picture of me wearing it just so you can see how it looks. It's a great straightforward sew, and there's a couple of lovely little details included in the Stellan pattern, including a really nice finish, kind of a binding finish to the back of the neckline. You can see here, so you don't see the back neckline seam, which is really nice to try. I've put that on a couple of those. It's just a little fun extra detail, I think, that makes it look that little bit more like maybe a ready-to-wear garment would, with that little binding on the back. But that is my first t-shirt pattern for this month, the Stellan tee by French Navy, which is a free pattern, which is really great. But the next pattern I wanted to share with you, as I said, was another t-shirt pattern, and it's one I've used a few times recently. I do like to reuse a pattern as much as I can, and particularly if it's one I really like. And it's this pattern here. It is the, well, it's on here, it says the Kyoto sweater and tee by Paper Cut Patterns, but it's recently been renamed to the Solar sweater and tee. And yeah, it's a really lovely pattern. I've made the sweater version as well as a t-shirt version. It's another boxy shape fit one. I think we seem to be making a lot of boxy shaped garments at the moment, with a drop shoulder and a lovely ruffle feature on the sleeve. Yeah, it's a really nice one to make up. It again sews up surprisingly quickly. It's designed for stretch fabrics. And I'll show you my version, which I made in another bamboo jersey. And I should have said before, actually, both this bamboo jersey and the one I made, the Stellan tee, came from Ray Stitch. And they've got a lovely selection of bamboo jerseys that are 95% bamboo and 5% spandex. You can get some bamboo jerseys that are a mix of bamboo and cotton. And I haven't got any experience of sewing with those, but I should imagine they probably aren't quite as slinky as one that's 95% bamboo, which is lovely and drapey and slinky. But yeah, so I made one in this red colour. And I think when I said to my husband about making one in red, he was a bit like, "Ooh, that might be a bit bright." But I just quite a big fan of red, and so I decided to go ahead, and I'm really pleased how it came out. As you can see, I've got the ruffle on the sleeve here, and yeah, it's just, other than that, it's just kind of quite a basic t-shirt with a ruffle. So I put up a picture of me wearing it. I really like the red colour, and yeah, I think it quite suits me, the colour. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's come out. So in terms of sizing on the Solar tee and sweater, I've got the old version of the pattern, which has a size range of extra small to extra large. And I make the extra small size, which is bust 32¼ inches, waist 24½ inches, and hips 34½ inches. But again, it's one of those oversized boxy t-shirts, so I just find there's plenty of room there for me on that version. But Paper Cut have since updated their size range, so instead of going from extra small to extra large, it now goes from size 1 to 8, and that has made it slightly more inclusive. There's a slightly smaller size. I think it starts from bust 29.9 inches, waist 22, hips 32.3 inches, so it goes down slightly smaller, and it also goes up slightly larger, up to bust 46.5 inches, waist 38.6 inches, and hips 48.8 inches. So it's still not the biggest size range ever yet, but I do understand that Paper Cut are currently looking into extending their size range, and I don't know whether they're going to be going back and updating their old patterns, including the Solar tee and sweater, to make them more inclusive too. Fingers crossed they are, but I guess we'll have to watch that space. But that's the Solar tee by Paper Cut Patterns. I just think it's a really nice and basic t-shirt pattern, but the ruffle adds a little bit of extra interest and makes it a little bit more special than a bog standard t-shirt. And yeah, in the drapey fabric, it works really, really well. So my next make I wanted to share with you for May is actually one I wasn't expecting to make this month at all. I made it in a fabric that I'd admired earlier in the year. It was on Guthrie Ghani's website, but it had sold out, or there was 1 metre left, so not enough for me to make what I wanted to make with it. And then, so I kind of just put it aside. I think I did email Guthrie Ghani at the time and said, do you have, will you be getting that fabric back in? And they said, we can put you on a waiting list. So they put me on the waiting list for the fabric. And I thought, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, oh, it probably won't come back in stock now it's getting towards summer, because it was quite a wintry fabric. And then I got an email to say it actually had come back in stock. So I was really pleased, and I snapped some up. So I got it sort of in April, unexpectedly. And I used it to make a jacket, which wouldn't usually be very seasonally appropriate for May, which is often quite warm, but it's been so cold it felt quite right making it, actually. And it's this jacket here. It's the Delphine jacket by I Am Patterns. And it's a really nice kind of classic shaped jacket. It's got a collar, and it's got little pockets, and it's quite a boxy sort of classic jacket fit. And it's designed to be made in reversible fabrics. So it's a bit different. It's not a lined jacket, although there is a lining add-on you can download for free on the website. So you can turn it into a lined jacket, but it is designed to be made in reversible fabrics. So I think it's quite a good starter jacket if you haven't made a coat before and are a bit nervous about lining. This is a good one to sort of get your confidence up by making a kind of outerwear without having to tackle the lining first, but you do need to find some lovely reversible fabric. Yeah, this fabric is a reversible fabric that I got, and it's this lovely fabric. It's a kind of denim sort of coloured quilted fabric with a cream teddy fleece lining. So it's really lovely, and I love those colours. I'm a big navy fan, and I love cream too. And I just thought oh, that'd be so lovely as a Delphine. So I made it, and here it is. It's quite bulky and cosy, so it's quite hard to show on the camera, but you can see. So it's got this lovely collar and a kind of the sort of facing in the fluffy fabric, and you can kind of play with the pattern and include whichever side you want out. So I've seen some versions where you'd have the teddy fleece or the kind of inside fabric on this side of the collar too, but I wanted to keep that a bit smoother. And I've got the teddy fabric peeking out on the cuffs, but for the bottom and for the pockets I decided to keep it without the teddy fabric showing, because I didn't want it to be too furry all over. I wanted it to still kind of be a classic jacket. So yeah, this is my version, and it's quite hard to show on camera because it is quite cosy and bulky, but I put a picture up of me wearing it. And because it's an unlined jacket, it is a surprisingly quick sew. It sews up really quite quickly. I think it's described as an intermediate pattern by I Am Patterns, yep, intermediate. And I guess that's because there are a couple of fiddly bits, like sewing all the layers together around the collar and that sort of thing. And also because when you're working with a reversible fabric, it's quite bulky, so I think it takes a bit of experience to kind of know how to maybe handle the bulky fabric, maybe. I found it quite a challenge, certainly, making sure it gets fitting it in my machine and kind of making sure that all the layers were included. And I used quite a lot of clips. I found them quite useful for kind of really holding the fabric together and kind of keeping it together really well. I think pins struggled on this fabric because it's so thick, and I found I bent a couple of pins when I was trying to use those to, say, pin the pockets in place to sew on. But yeah, it came together really well, and I'm really happy with it, and it is so cosy. And I'm hoping, because it's kind of quite a classic jacket shape and quite a classic colour, that I'll get a lot of wear out of it. In terms of sizing, I made the size 36. The pattern goes from size 36 to size 46, and size 36 is bust 32¼ inches, waist 24½ inches, and hips 34�5/8 inches. So what I did was I used the bust measurement for size 36, then I graded out to size 38 at the hips, and size 38 at the hips is 36¼ inches. That's more me, and I'm glad I did grade out because I find this jacket sews up quite true to size. It's not designed to be too oversized. So yeah, I think if I'd have made the straight 36, it might have been a bit tight when I tried to do it up around the hips. But yeah, that came together really nicely. I think I lengthened the sleeves by about 1.5 inches or so. And I didn't lengthen the bodice. It's available in 2 lengths, the jacket, a kind of waist length and then slightly longer. So I went for the slightly longer length. I wanted to kind of cover up around my waist and be more of a coat than like kind of short sort of biker jacket length. Yes, I'm really happy with how it turned out actually. So it was an unexpected make and a surprisingly quick make, but I'm really pleased with it, and I'm planning on writing up a blog post talking in more detail about my experience with sewing this pattern, and I'm also going to talk in the blog about my experience of sewing with the free lining add-on in my previous version too. So when that's available, I'll put a link down below. I haven't got started on that yet, but that'll be coming soon in case you want to read in more detail about my Delphine jacket. But I really love it. Yeah, it's super snuggly, and the teddy fabric's so sweet. You can see the kind of quilting comes through on the inside too, so it's really lovely. And oh, the only other thing I wanted to mention was I Am Patterns, I find a great lovely patterns, but I do find their instructions on the minimal side compared to other indie pattern companies. I don't think there feels as much hand holding by I Am Patterns as some other pattern companies. So one thing I found was that the instructions on the finishing at the end of the garment were a little bit minimal, and I found that because it's quite a thick fabric, the facing on the inside was kind of flapping out a little bit and not sitting flat. So what I chose to do to kind of secure the facing down, particularly around the neck at the back, is I sort of stitched around here on the outside, and I tried to do it quite neatly here so that it kind of secured the facing down against the main fabric so it doesn't flap up. And I'm quite pleased how it came out. And you can't, I mean, when the collar's down you don't really see it much anyway, but it's just kind of like a bit, yeah, of a kind of extra line of stitching there just to secure it down. And I haven't secured the sides down, but I added the pockets on right at the end of sewing, so they've kind of secured the bottom of the facing down. So with that bottom bit being secured down and the neck, the facing isn't flapping out now. So I'm quite pleased how that ended up. But that was just kind of a couple of extra steps that I added in just to make it a bit more comfortable to wear. And yeah, that's it really. But that's the I Am Delphine jacket. I was really pleased I managed to get that fabric, and I thought it's a really well organised system at Guthrie Ghani that you can join the waiting list and they do let you know when fabric comes back in stock. I was really happy that it did come back in stock for that one. And actually I don't think it needs too much fabric for this jacket either. How much does it need? Does it say? For the longer version you only need 1.6 metres of fabric that's 140 centimetres long, so really not a great deal of fabric. So it's a lovely pattern and great for reversible fabric if you're planning to sew a jacket that you want to come together fairly quickly. That's the Delphine jacket by I Am Patterns, just an extra make that I wasn't expecting to get sewn up this month. And with all the cold weather we're having, I'll probably get quite a lot of wear out of it before summer comes too. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention actually about Guthrie Ghani's service. I was really impressed with how they kept track of the waiting list and let me know. I was really pleased that they did have that waiting list and could let me know when the fabric was back in stock. But also, I wasn't sure what to do about in terms of pre-washing this fabric because of the denim on one side and the cream on the other side. I didn't want to sort of wash it and then spoil it by the colours running or anything like that. So I emailed them and said, sort of what do you recommend to do on the pre-washing front, and they were really helpful. They actually put a scrap of this fabric through the washing machine themselves, and then they sent me a really detailed email telling me exactly what they recommended I do. I think they said they put it on a 30 cycle and then done 3 rinses as well, and it had washed really well. So I followed their instructions and it came out so nicely. There was no there's no kind of transfer of the denim fabric onto the cream fabric, and it's really nice to know now that if I do put this jacket in the wash that hopefully it shouldn't shrink at all, and also that the colours shouldn't run now because it's been rinsed thoroughly. So yeah, I thought it was great service and really impressed by Guthrie Ghani and how helpful they were. So I thought I'd just mention that in case you do buy any fabrics from them. It's always worth emailing them. They do everything they can to help to make sure you get the best experience out of their fabrics. Those are all my sewing projects in May, but I've also got a couple of knitted items I wanted to share with you. And the first one is a knitted cardigan I made for myself, and I made it using a kit from We Are Knitters. And this is my first kit I'd got from We Are Knitters, and it's a Hackney cardigan. And it doesn't give much away from the front of the cardigan, but I'll show you the line drawing of the cardigan. Here it is. Yeah, it's quite a relaxed fit cardigan, designed to be kind of sort of finishing around your hip level. It's not got any buttons, it's designed to be worn open. But what this picture doesn't show is the lovely stitch it's knitted in, which is moss stitch. And I really like moss stitch. My mum's made a couple of cardigans for my daughter in moss stitch, but I've got here, I thought I might show you they're cute little cardigans for my daughter. This one in this kind of peachy colour, and another one in this kind of pinky colour. But yes, I've always admired my daughter's cardigans and thought that moss stitch is quite a nice stitch that goes with quite a lot of things. It's got a bit of detail to it, but it's not so fancy that you couldn't wear it with a dress and it wouldn't sort of be too much. So when I saw the Hackney cardigan by We Are Knitters, I thought I'd love to make a moss stitch cardigan in my size. And here's my one in this lovely mustard colour. As you can see, here it is. So yeah, this is how it turned out. It's hard to show, I think, a knitted garment on the camera, so I'll put up a picture so you can see how it looks on. And I made it in the kit, which comes with this Merry wool, which is the We Are Knitters kind of chunky merino yarn. And I never knitted with a kind of natural fibre really before. I've mainly knitted with acrylic, because I've always found that kind of wool aggravates my skin. It makes me feel quite itchy. But I'd heard that merino yarn can be a lot softer, the kind of fibre's a lot softer, so it doesn't aggravate your skin as much. And actually, I'm so happy that it doesn't seem to bother my skin at all. It is really lovely and wonderfully soft, and I can wear this without being irritated. So it's quite expensive merino yarn. I've got expensive wool taste, I guess. But I'm really pleased to be able to knit with some natural fibre, and it was so nice to knit with. It's so fluffy. It's just, yeah, it was just lovely. I really enjoyed the whole process. The only bit I found a bit tricky is on the sewing up of the cardigan at the end. I find that the merino wool, sometimes if you're too harsh with it, it can kind of break quite easily. So I had to be very careful and gentle sewing up, make sure I didn't pull it too hard because it just seems to come apart in your hands otherwise. But it's a really lovely knit. In terms of sizing on this one, I found it really, I did the tension swatch to start with, and I found it really hard to get the right tension on it with the 5mm needles, which the pattern recommended. So I ended up sizing up to 7mm needles, and I found that was much more in line with the tension. So I don't know whether it's my knitting and whether I knit a bit tight, but yeah, I found 7mm needles work much better. And I made the size medium, I think, because I thought even with the 7mm, the tension was still tighter, a little bit tighter. So I thought if I sized up, because I think the smallest design for bust 32, 35 inches, medium design for 35, 38 inches. So I did the medium, and that came out quite a nice size. I think I'm quite happy with how that fits. It's definitely not too oversized by any means. And then I lengthened the sleeves just very slightly by a few rows because I do have longer arms. But it was a really nice knit actually. I really enjoyed knitting the moss stitch. Because it's chunky wool, it didn't take too long. And yeah, it's just really enjoyable. I was definitely impressed with the We Are Knitters kit and with the quality of the merino yarn. It is lovely. Yeah, I could just sort of cuddle it all day really. But that was my first knitting project I wanted to share with you. And my other one was another make from this book here, and which I've been making my way through, as you might know if you've seen some of my previous makes vlogs. It's Knitted Cats and Kittens by Sue Stratford, and I've been making lots of things from this book for my children. They've both got a little collection of cats in their rooms now. I've made quite a few of the cats now, and they've been running out of cats that they wanted to choose, but my son was really interested in a couple of the accessories in this book, which are a cat scratching post and a cat basket. I think I can show you them here. On the page here, the cat scratching post and the cat basket. So he was really keen for me to knit those up for his crazy kittens. And so let me show you them. Here is the basket, which is one of the little crazy kittens is sitting in at the moment. Yeah, there you can see it's quite like a relaxed little cute little cat basket that fits one crazy kitten in perfectly. And it's got a little dip at the front for them to sort of jump in and out of. So yeah, that's the little cat basket. It was knit in Aran yarn, which I think I got from lovecrafts.com. Yeah, so that was a nice fun, really quick knit. And then the scratching post was fun too. I've not really knitted anything like this before. It was almost felt like a combination of knitting and junk modelling. So here it is. So it's again Aran yarn, the same colour for the top and bottom that I used the little cat bed, and then a different colour for the scratching post itself. And then I used some scraps of other wool I had to make this bit, which is a little bird sort of toy for them to bat around. So yeah, inside here is it's a kitchen roll. I kind of cut up a bit shorter and made a bit narrower, and it's got some cardboard in the bottom and top, and then I put a bit of rice in here to weight it so it doesn't sort of flop over too much. But yeah, that's the little scratching post. So a little knitted cat kitten sits quite nicely on top of there too. So yeah, they're both quite quick makes and quite a bit of fun, and my son likes them. So yeah, just a little fun project, something that was a nice little palette cleanser after making the cardigan, and before I move on to my next larger knitting project. But that was everything I've been making this month. So I've really enjoyed sharing them with you. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a bit about what I've been up to. I've got some more plans for June. I'm really hoping the weather gets better. I'd love to be able to sew a summery dress or two. So I'll be back with another vlog soon. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed listening to all of the things I've been making, then I'd love you to give me a thumbs up. And also, if you haven't subscribed, then please do subscribe and press the bell icon, and then that'll mean you get notifications about my future vlogs when they come out. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you again soon. I hope you have a great day. Bye!